Hello and welcome to Dicebox, a tabletop role-playing podcast where we focus on playing full campaigns in less well-known systems. This week in episode 37, can our Nobilis breathe a sigh of relief now that they're back in Fermata once again? Hello and welcome. I'm Adam, your friendly neighborhood game master, and joining me are...
Hi, I'm Drew, and I'll be playing Leorian Qatar, Viscount of Tempo, believer in nothing, hanging out with the acolytes of a lack of light.
Hello, I'm Robin, and I'll be playing She of Perfect Darkness, overseer of ritualistic sacrifice, forger of souls and shards alike, the furious queen, Mavia.
Hi, I'm Dez, and I will be playing Ramnet, the Duke of Murder, who really only instigates them, it seems. It's not my fault.
But it is.
Even though they're all my purview.
Of course. Thank you. Let's start off with Ramnet's bonus XP roll, and I believe we also have some experience to spend.
3 8s.
Hey.
That'll do it. You got an experience point.
Woo!
So yeah, I think we're spending some here. Ramnet, let's start with you.
So I am going to be upping my empathy from 2 to 3 on my mortal sheet. And we had discussed the gift that I had gotten.
Indeed. So listeners whose memories are sufficiently good will recall that when sort of scraping power from the Godswoods, Ramnet opted to receive a gift, and that will sort of pop up a little bit in today's session, or at least it's very likely to, but in mechanical terms, this is a gift worth 4 divine experience points based on a major divination of murder. And it's got a sort of normal 2 miracle point miracle to invoke it, penetration of 5, and the question that it can ask is how can a target that can't be straightforwardly murdered be murdered? So it will
We're
allow...
going full Hogfather.
Yes, it will allow Ramnet to go full Hogfather. So the narrowness of the purview there is that if something is straightforwardly biologically alive, then this won't work on it because murdering it is a relatively straightforward proposition. And if it simply is something that murder can't apply to, then this won't work on it either. But if it's something that could kind of be cleverly targeted with a metaphorical or an abstract or a symbolic murder, this will give insight into that up to penetration 5 for the cost of a normal miracle, or 2 miracle points, which can come from either domain or spirit in this case. Other XP expenditures.
Yes. I am going to be expending my pool of 6 mortal experience points to promote one of my 2 dice and dodge, first to an expert die, and then to a master die.
And yeah, unless you're penalized on dodge, you will probably never fail a dodge roll again, unless there is some sort of a difficulty on it, like let's say you're trying to dodge arrows while on a tightrope.
Can't touch this.
Almost literally.
I don't want to be left out. I am going to up my eerie from 1 to 2 because things have gotten strange, and I think it would be a good idea to notice as they continue to get stranger.
Marvelous. I think that'll round us out for spending experience points, which brings us to our recap of last time, which is in Mavia and or Lissa's hands this time.
Who are you to demand me to speak? Continue to vex me so, and I will suck the marrow from your bones, you worthless. Words are burning in my throat despite my resistance. I am not the same. Clearly, or I wouldn't be compelled to speak by such irksome parlor tricks. Something happened when I ate that foul thing's heart. It tasted so sweet, and yet immediately burned me despite satiating me. My shadows fell away, and I was exposed. Worse yet, I can feel everything as I am. I barely had time to collect myself before something horrible entered the woods, disrupting the comfortable darkness. A goddess, come to see who had stolen sacrifice. Her name is irrelevant. I beckoned to my dark progenitor to return me to Fermata and save these additional shards I had stolen in their name. But I was only met with silence. And so I hid and let the others, Leorian and Romnet, deal with this towering, bright, and horrible god. She eventually left after some politicking, which I do so hate, much to the displeasure of Mima and Rowena, but not before giving us insight into how to feed upon the power remaining in the woods. My hunger stirred anew, and so I miraculously brought back the overgod's feelings of despair and memories of their sacrifice. I felt my vast wells of power overflow once again, and my spirit became fortified, brighter. And still, neither my armor nor my beautiful serpents have returned. How am I to be a queen looking like this? Having drunk my fill, presumably our fill, shadows formed around our feet, beckoning us home to Fermata.
Marvelous, thank you. And that is where we resume. The three of you standing in the plaza. As remarked last time, emptier than it was, kind of almost back to pre-Lightward levels of crowd and activity. The flowers are still present, as is the statue. The Lightward are nowhere to be seen. The statue shows a smiling Mavia and Romnet sort of standing back to back, each consuming what appear to be human limbs, bite by bite. And the darkness that had become a little bit more shaped previously is now visibly a sort of encapsulating canopy of branches of unfathomably massive trees sort of tangling and interlocking over the city of Fermata. And that is where we rejoin our Nobilis here, standing in the plaza at the entrance to Fermata, taking in the statue and the changes.
Realizing where we are, the first thing I do is bury my bright boon in my deepest, darkest pocket so as not to offend.
Mm-hmm.
I head straight to the manifestation.
Okay. I am going to guess that Leorian and Romnet will follow if Mavia begins to move.
Yeah.
All right.
In a decidedly puppyish fashion, yes.
No.
In my case.
Sure.
I speak not for Romnet on that score.
So yeah, you begin heading toward the manifestation. You are walking through the quiet city. Here that's where you've arrived, and those who are looking around to notice will see that the denizens of Fermata are looking more inhuman on average than ever, while almost everyone is still essentially, bipedal, 2 arms, head, vertical symmetry for the most part. The sort of aspects of subterranean, troglodyte, nocturnal, and amphibious animals and ideas and concepts and creatures and legends have started to kind of become more pronounced. It would be harder and harder for any of the Fermatans to blend in with a crowd of humans outside of the city, though no one really seems to notice the difference anymore. And everybody, is still more or less operating in a relatively human fashion. You don't see, anybody who has gone like full aquatic and can't come out of the canals. You don't see anybody who is climbing along the fronts of buildings instead of walking in the streets. Even though some folks now have bat-like wings or gliding membranes like those of a snake or flying squirrel, you don't really see anybody using them for more than balance or fashion. So everything is still sort of mundane, but also less than it was. You also don't see a single light word in the entire city on your way to the manifestation. Now that doesn't have to mean anything, but it is different than previously, especially as they were getting more and more common. It is unusual to make it all the way from the gate to the manifestation without seeing any. The attitude of the people that you pass through, through the quiet city, pass by on your way through the quiet city toward the manifestation is very deferential. Conversation tends to die off as you come close. People either slow or stop to make sort of polite obeisance towards you. And rather than jovialities, you get, sort of hushed, kind of respectful greetings. Though probably you're just being caught in the blast zone in Leorian's case. They don't seem to take special notice of you. And in short order, you are in the plaza in front of the manifestation. I would assume that Mavia probably just head straight up the stairs, but I wanted to give an opportunity if Leorian wanted to do something different.
Are there any Timothys about?
You actually haven't seen any on your way to the manifestation, which is also unusual.
Yeah, I think I say it's probably, if I may, still a truly terrible idea for me to enter that. So I will keep on the lookout for Timothy. And if any of them show up, I will give them your best, my Furious Queen.
I incline my head.
And you enter the manifestation. Leorian, you stay outside the doors in the plaza. Rumnet presumably also entering the manifestation.
Oh yeah,
thought so, but just wanted to make sure.
I waved to Rumnet. I assume he doesn't notice, but then I plunk myself down outside the manifestation, take out my lute, and start singing of Timothy's.
Maybe I raise my hand to return the wave, and then awkwardly realize it was not directed to me, and stiffly turn around and keep walking.
Inside the manifestation, you see something that you may not have seen since your first emergence from the heart of the chancel. The main sort of cathedral space of the manifestation is empty. There are no people. There are no acolytes. It is just an empty room for, the first time in memory.
I continue to hoof it towards the well.
All right. You proceed directly to the doorway leading to the stairs. The stairs themselves are as dark and as inscrutable as ever, but it does seem that you reach the bottom faster than you usually would. And as usual, it is perfectly dark in the heart of the chancel, but this does not keep either of you from being able to see in it. And as soon as you are,
even though this isn't D&D, I have dark vision.
Right.
I make no apologies.
So you should not be.
None was demanded.
I think most of us
none.
Indeed.
No apology would be permitted.
You use your mastery over darkness and your smoking void vision, respectively, upon entering the heart of the chancel to observe that an addition has been made to this area, an unusual one. There is an obsidian stalactite descending above the well, and the stalactite does not simply end in a stone point, but rather in a sort of bulb of obsidian in which are encased the feet of one Evine Philomel, who is hanging upside down directly above the well, seemingly unconscious. I think I'm going to want an empathy roll from Mavia.
Yeah, I was going to say that in character integrity that would cause some sort of reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It's going with the master die.
Mm-hmm. So that's 2 plus a master die.
Oh, 1. Oh yeah, duh. Never mind. Excuse me as I forget everything about this system we've been playing in for over a year.
We all just had a crazy Bastille day. Everybody's brain is a little fried. You're good.
Oh, yeah. So I got a 69. Nice. So I'm setting my master die to 9.
All right. That will actually do it. Seeing this sets off a little bit of a reaction in Mavia, and with a 9, it's actually kind of up to you. Lissa surges forward. You as the player, Robin, get to decide whether Lissa comes to the fore or not.
Oh. I managed to just keep her down, but without the shadows, it's far more obvious that this is happening.
And she does not subside completely. It is a little bit like having her riding shotgun, or maybe in the backseat, to use an anachronistic, out of character analogy. So, any particular reactions from Romnet or Mavia here, or maybe just a period of thoughtful and or stunned silence? No, unconscious.
Yeah, I am going to try to get her down in hopes of stabilizing myself.
I'm going to ask, so what's all this then?
There is no immediate response to that as Mavia moves forward to try and get Evine down. Are you taking any particular approach to this task?
I'm going to look at the stalactite with my sight first to see if any miraculous actions against it will be met with Mott's Octortos.
Certainly, this is the center of Mott's body, so you will definitely be working miracles if Mott should decide to resist them through the Octortos.
This is a very illicit thought, so I'm not going to follow that course of action and tickle the stalactite.
And you just leave that dangling there.
I am going to just project the fury that I'm currently experiencing seeing Evine in this way. Since, I'm the honest one, and put that into the stalactite in hopes that it releases her while positioning myself in a apt place to catch her.
Okay. There is a slight tremor that runs through the entire heart of the chancel. In fact, Leorian, you might feel a slight tremor up on the steps of the manifestation, though nobody else in the sort of manifestation square seems to react to it, gives any sign of noticing it. This does not wake Evine, but it does sort of like spread out from the epicenter of the stalactite and then concentrate back into the well. And after just a quick beat, you hear the sounds of hands and feet shifting on the inside of the well. Someone presumably is climbing up out of the well.
I look into the well.
With your command of darkness, you are able to see... Well, it takes you a moment to figure out exactly what you're looking at. You are looking at an acolyte, but they're further changed. The pallor has gone from sort of greenish to actually phosphorescent. Even the sort of clinging darkness of the well can't hide that they have a sort of fungal or firefly glow to their skin now. And it's only as they continue to climb that you also realize that their form has changed somewhat too. The acolytes have recently been quite tall and lean. You would now be, as the acolyte sort of nears the lip of the well and begins to climb out of it, comfortable describing their stature as eel-like.
Cool.
So that's a thing.
Yeah.
What's the meaning of this?
The acolyte doesn't immediately respond, and Romnet, as it climbs out of the well, you will see the acolyte as well. Changes and all. One of the stranger properties of the Heart of the Chancel, standing up, even with its sort of back a little bent and shoulders hunched and sort of arms dangling and kind of swaying a little bit as it stands, this acolyte is probably over 9 feet tall, and yet the cavern roof still allows it some clearance, even though it doesn't seem like there's as much space. The robe that it wears goes just below its knees, and otherwise looks pretty much the same as it always has. And the acolyte's expression is still a very neutral one, but rather than a calm neutrality, is a somewhat stern neutrality. The acolyte sort of regards the two of you impassively for a moment and blinks in a sort of reptilian, slightly asynchronous way where the blink of one eye overlaps the blink of the other instead of happening simultaneously, and then speaks in a familiar tone, but in a deeper, more otherworldly register. We have discovered that the mayor was leading the city astray. She was placed here to await the judgment of the prophet. And it turns its gaze to Romnet.
Specify how she was leading the city astray, what is meant by astray, and are there formal charges?
The tall acolyte slowly cocks their head, seeming to process this somewhat slowly, and then replies, "Charges. The mistreatment of the subjects of the Obsidian God, the failure to safeguard the population of Fermata, and the allowance of criminality and resistance to the Obsidian God's will among those in and inside of Fermata. More could perhaps be described, if necessary."
Is this related then to the light word?
The acolyte inclines their head slightly and says, Among other things, yes. All that is required of you, Prophet, is to consent to her disposal, and she will be dropped into the well for the nourishment of the obsidian god.
Don't you dare.
The acolyte gives another lazy asynchronous blink and then fixes its gaze on Mavia, but says nothing.
What are your thoughts, Mavia?
It's not quite flickering. Oh, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, Lissa will probably also try to speak. Whether or not she succeeds is up to you.
Yeah, so I take a moment to stabilize myself. And it's probably a strange effect, almost like those apps that rapidly age you, or those filters on Snapchat that briefly juxtapose an older face over your own before shaking it off and saying, I just don't think whoever this is should be dropped down the well for whatever the sea snack is talking about.
That gets the acolyte to blink once more, seemingly in confusion.
I will turn to Rep Timothy. And I win!
I need more vodka.
I will turn to Rep Timothy and ask, to what degree is this directly the word of the obsidian god, or is this a conflict between the civic and religious responsibilities within the city?
The Timothy, the acolyte. Okay, wait, I need less vodka. Hang on.
wait, was this the I
second, I think.
Okay.
Second
it was,
time,
yeah, it was the
time.
second. Yeah.
We just need Rep Timothy now.
Not gonna lie, I do love Rep Timothy.
It's very funny, but the part of me that I got from my mom, whose reaction to the Beatles being popular was, well, those girls just were never let out of the house. Is to write out like a living will for what should become of me if I say the name Rep Timothy inadvertently. Not perhaps a healthy impulse, but an honest one. Anyway, so you were asking whether this was the expressed will of the obsidian god or part of a conflict between civic and religious authorities. The acolyte's answer is indirect. Looks thoughtful for a moment, then says, "We are sure this is the will of the obsidian god for this one," glancing at Evine, attempted to promulgate an order calling for the liquidation of acolytes.
Like a smoothie.
I'm assuming that's not something Mavia says.
No, because I'm assuming smoothies don't exist in this world.
I would say I would pay good money for that to be something that Mavia says, except that smoothies don't exist.
They're about to be invented using acolytes, I suppose.
Had smoothies existed.
It's got a very new, specific definition.
The recipe has really changed over time, I think for the better. But yeah, this is how smoothies started.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is it's Yes, but it has to be blended using an obsidian blade.
Soylent Timothy.
Rep Tim Smoothie. I'm not even here. Why am I talking?
Because your input is cherished and appreciated.
We love having a good peanut gallery.
While this is happening, I am plucking a counter rhythm to myself, repeating, Timothy, Timothy, come out and play with me.
No.
Was this in response to anything in particular? I seem to have missed some political developments in the city.
There's another one of those ponderous pauses from this towering acolyte as they turn to regard you once again and reply, The mayor insisted that it was at your instruction, and the acolytes were unwilling to countenance this insult to the prophet.
Well, on the one hand, that is indeed some horseshit. On the other hand, this is not the first time that there has been false messaging purporting to be from me.
The acolyte does not respond.
While this is going on, I am attempting to devise a way to reach Avine without falling into the well myself, and probably give her some, not so hard to be a slap, but a lot more than the gentle tap on the cheek that you would bestow someone you were trying to make conscious again.
This involves sort of clambering up to set one foot on either side of the lip of the well and supporting yourself with another hand kind of like above you.
On the Avine-sicle?
Above Avine's feet on like the bulb of the stalactite. I suppose so. And then sort of like reaching down with the other arm to like, kind of slap at her cheek. She doesn't seem to respond. And the acolyte ignores what you are doing, keeping their gaze on Romnet.
Does she have any sort of Octor toss around her?
Mm-mm.
Like, is that okay? I just want to make sure whatever the obsidian got it done not kind of enveloped her.
Is she being kept unconscious, or is this just a matter of her present state?
In this place, mortals must have special dispensation to retain their senses. She is in a sort of stasis, if you will.
The phrase coffee trick comes to mind, and I utilize it.
Okay. Give me another Sense plus Empathy roll. 2 plus a Master die.
Sorry. Coffee trick?
It's the miracle that Lissa used to create furious joy in people.
Okay.
That's once again 2 9s.
Oof.
All
yeah.
right. Using this miracle does push sort of the Lissa aspect, kind of along with it. But rolling that high, you still have the option of staying Mavia if you wish.
Maybe is barely clinging on at this point, but yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to give her dispensation, if that is within my authority, if at least to figure out what exactly is going on. If indeed she is fomenting dissent, then it may be meet to have her punished, but if she is the patsy of someone impersonating me, then she is not the root of the problem.
A wise decision, O prophet. The acolyte turns to look at Evine, who has just been coffee tricked, and her eyes sort of flutter open, and she sucks in a breath, and looks around, looks up for her, down for gravity, and just screams, "Ah!" and then sort of starts to get herself under control a little bit.
I smile a feigned maniacal grin and waggle my fingers at her before jumping off the well.
That's I don't think that's why.
I thought you were going to say, I don't think that's feigned. Like, it was maniacal.
It's certainly that, yes.
In a friendly way.
The acolyte,
Maybe.
while this is going on, sort of like sweeps backwards to stand against a wall where Dusk's nook used to be. Evine is awake now and sort of hyperventilating as she looks around.
As happens. I understand that you promulgated an order to liquidate the Timothys?
Evine takes a moment to focus on you, and then you see sort of like a flash of mixed emotions across her face, along with like blood slowly pooling in her head, and she sort of hisses out a breath and says, "Sorry, this is your fault. You told me. You told me they had to go, and I was just doing what I was told. I'm just the mayor. I'm not the prophet, and she vomits into the well."
Honestly deserved. Did I appear to you personally? Was this through correspondence?
Of course it was through correspondence. You haven't barely said 2 words to me in months.
That's largely because you seem to have been fairly hostile in our in-person encounters.
Okay, I've been hostile. All right, okay.
Evine, I suspect that someone has been forging correspondence, because I don't fucking write letters.
That seems to bring her up short a little bit. She blinks rapidly and opens her mouth as though to say something, closes it, breathes deeply for a moment, and then says, sorry, what? I've got probably hundreds of pieces of correspondence back in my...
You are indeed not the first person, well, I don't know when chronologically, but one of my former paramours believed to himself to have been in correspondence with an increasingly desperate me seeking to be rescued from my noble counterparts before I found myself ennobled, and that resolved itself in a deeply odd kidnapping attempt. So you can understand why I tend to speak face to face.
Evine seems to take a moment to absorb this, and then says, Why, you mean that someone was taking the time to forge dozens of missives, and not just to me?
To a variety of people in handwriting indistinguishable from mine. Which...
What?
I haven't any idea, but it seems to have,
So I
rent asunder any cooperation between church and state, as it were.
I've been carrying out incoherent orders from a spy because I thought you were taking over my job while I was trying to do it, and it's gonna get me executed. She starts to cry.
No, I don't think this should get you executed, Evie.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I don't think it should either. But does that mean I'm not going to get executed?
But if I say the word, will Levine instead be released so that the correspondent can be found? Because that is the person rightly deserving execution.
The acolyte sort of slowly bobs its head left to right and then right to left and says, "Yes, that should be sufficient, but I do not think that she can remain mayor of Fermata, and perhaps it would be unwise for her to remain in Fermata."
If you could go anywhere you wanted, where would you go?
Evine's eyes go very wide, and she says, "I haven't thought of that. I don't know. Oh gods, the thought is terrifying. I don't know if I could. I don't know. I don't know."
Give it perhaps some thought.
Caliban.
I perhaps. Thank you. Is that Lissa?
No.
Oh, yeah, it must be her little sister, I suppose.
I attempt to do
Mentally, I'm thinking
shriek.
it's her roommate.
They were roommates.
Oh, there's a lot of awkward in that statement, Robin.
I attempt to do maybe a shriek, but it just comes out as a childish tantrum.
I will put an arm
regards
on,
it with widened eyes.
I will put a hand on maybe his shoulder, comfortingly if she will accept it.
I don't move.
Okay.
I don't accept it, but I don't move.
Evine sort of watches this curiously and then kind of squeezes her eyes closed and says, I'm in no position to make demands and I don't wish to impose, but it's very hard to hang upside down with a yawning abyss above my head. Is there any way I could get down?
I would like to see Evine restored to her upright and mobile ability without harm or being dropped into the well, please. I will direct that at Rep Timothy.
The acolyte bobs their head once and sort of looks up at the roof of the cavern that is the heart of the chancel, and the stalactite that has Evine's feet in it suddenly moves in a fashion like a snake swallowing prey, and Evine is soundlessly, other than her slight yelp of surprise, conveyed upward through the stone and vanishes from sight.
Excellent.
I assume she is being deposited unharmed in the manifestation above.
She will be on the altar momentarily.
That is way less comforting than even was intended. Thank you, Timothy.
The acolyte bobs its head and strides toward the stairs.
I stalk towards the well again and look down it and say, I wish to have a word with you.
while you are doing that, the acolyte gets to the stairs and sort of starts to xenomorph crawl up them. Which is not something
at least it's using the stairs rather than the walls.
Yeah.
It could have climbed on the ceiling like one of the adorable xenomorphs.
You, I guess, don't know that it doesn't move up to the wall and then the ceiling after it's out of sight, which is really, really quickly.
I choose to believe it does.
But maybe you probably don't see this as you are honing in on the well, while Ramnet, you probably do sort of track the movement of the acolyte to the stairs, and then blink/wobble your void smoke as it scurries out of sight. So maybe you lean down over the well, you make it known that you wish to have a word, and wait an small interval for a response, during which time, Leorian, you have been playing, you've been people watching. In fact, I would love to get a perform roll from you. This is going to be, for our listeners, command plus perform is 7 plus an expert die. Go ahead and set that expert die and then roll your 7 dice.
The expert die is at 6 because,
Right.
We did not increment the count. However, that is 3 8s.
It's a pretty good roll. So yeah, you sort of, get into the zone with the music, which is not an unfamiliar feeling to you, but it has actually been a minute, since you had sort of the luxury.
Sure.
It's nice. It's a little restorative, even. And you pass an, indeterminate amount of time this way, and then you hear the doors of the manifestation bang open behind you, followed by sort of gasping breathing. Turning to look, you see a woman you've seen once before, the mayor. You think her name was Evine, sort of staggering out of the manifestation, looking much worse for wear, and kind of looking around wildly.
I didn't know this was a government meeting. Did it go bad?
She sort of looks around, looks at you, and goes, sorry, Liren?
That was incredibly close. Leorian, we only met once before, and I think you were having a day that day. You might be having a day today. Leorian, though. Yeah, that's me.
Right, sorry, and she sort of just collapses onto the step, kind of not exactly next to you, but like one down and a little ways over from you. And she sits for a moment and then sort of just like flops backward, sprawling on the steps, and says, well, I think I lost my job, but that might be the best thing that's happened to me in a while, honestly. I just don't know where I'm going to go from here.
You're not going to believe it, but I kind of know the feeling. I mean, I used to be very different in the way I sort of earned my bread and lived my life. And let me tell you, a change, terrible though it may be, can be a change for the better.
She nods a little bit, sort of staring up into the crisscrossing branches above, and then looks at you, and you are struck, of course, by the fact that her eyes are entirely black. Pupils, irises, sclera. One of the most notable features about her the first time that you met her.
On seeing this, without breaking from the last thing I said, did you like your job?
Yevine considers, blinks, and makes a thoughtful sound and goes, I don't know. I liked working with people. I liked seeing everyone taken care of them, but the job itself, at least for a few months, has been kind of nightmarish. And I thought it was the prophet's fault, but well, it's not really. I just found that out Oh, is the thing.
Yeah, lots of things aren't his fault. All murders kind of are, but lots of stuff isn't. And it's like...
She blinks. At that, it goes, oh, right, the domain. Right. Right, yeah, no, he's the demigod of murder. Right.
Right, a little bit of demigod humor there. No, I guess what I'm saying is you like helping people. You like seeing things come together. And if there's one thing I've learned, people need help. I don't just mean myself, although I mean, like, there's so many opportunities out there to help people and make things better. And if that's what you love, I mean, there's almost nowhere you can go where that's not going to be the most valuable thing. So, I mean, yeah.
Evine replies, you think I could head out there with ease? Pointing to her eyes. And also indicating as she does that her hands are more claw-like than a normal human's.
A light bulb visibly goes on over my head, at least to anybody who knows how to look. And I say, I mean, well, in certain mortal environs, people might look at you sideways for little things like that. But I certainly know one place where nobody would look askance. It's different from here. I got to warn you about that. But I mean, everywhere I think is pretty different from here, in fairness.
She chuckles, and I would like you at this time to roll a command plus inspire 4 dice.
I can do that.
Now, for our players, if you were to consult the rules, this would be usually used for like crowds or groups, especially about to like fight or something, but it seems like the closest fit.
Evine contains multitudes.
She does it that. No matches, unfortunately. High of 10. Yeah. And I actually, you know what? Forget the 10. I got 69. Nice. So, I'll call it a win.
She looks thoughtful and then kind of deflates and says, maybe one day, I suppose. For now, I should probably try to put things to rights. I gotta figure out where all this fake correspondence was coming from. And I feel just awful about the light word. I should really figure out how to help them out. If there are any still in the city. I don't even know if I can leave.
So that was a lot. The light word, those were, are they, if they're not in the city, are they, I search for a word and then settle on alive?
Well, I don't know. So, not that long ago, the acolytes, you may have seen them around if you've been in the city before.
I nod vigorously.
Right. They, sort of gathered around the Lightward camp, and they didn't like get violent, but they sort of pressed in around them and pushed them out of the gates, which didn't really used to be possible. But well, presumably they're outside the city now, but I don't know how easy it is to survive out there. I don't know where outside the city is, because there hasn't been one for that long.
It's it's got its pros and its cons, I guess. It's brighter than here.
I also, and she sort of looks around and lowers her voice, I also suspect that time might function differently in the city than outside it.
You're on the ball. Yeah, very highly, terrifyingly, absolutely. Not terrifyingly, just, profoundly.
She sort of nods, seeming a little taken aback that you had that answer, and then sighs and sits up a little bit and says, well, I should go see if I can find where that correspondence was coming from. Best I could do to make restitution, I suppose. And if I could find whoever's doing it. She sort of makes a fist. She goes, well, unclenches the fists and looks at her claws and goes, I think I can figure out something to do with it. Anyway, your music's nice. Should keep on playing it, I think.
You're marrying. Your marrying is nice. Keep on marrying, one way or another.
Dusts herself off a little bit. She says, nah, Reintroductions are in order and sort of leans down, extending a hand to shake yours and says, Evin Philomel, brewmaster and pub owner of the Nightcap. Please
Leorin Kazar, a musician. I look left, I look right, I lean in very close and say, Demigod, I'll see you around.
She, while you're leaned in close, goes, It's not a secret. And then sort of gives you a chuckle. Certainly the biggest smile you've gotten from her this whole time. And then sort of puts her hands in her pockets and leaves the square. Cutting back into the heart of the chancel, jumping back in time a little bit to Mavia requesting a chat. There is a span of unresponsive silence. So if you have any sense of what would change or what you might do given a span of unresponsive silence, either of you, good time to let me know.
I project theory once again throughout the entire cavern.
Similarly, there is sort of an expanding and contracting tremor that concentrates on the well.
Do a divination of murder. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the murders that have happened in the realm recently.
Okay. Interesting. So let's see. With a lesser divination,
it would have to be,
yeah. You can get sort of general information, and there haven't been a whole lot of murders. Any city this size is not necessarily going to be zero, over a span of days or weeks, but it is seemingly about where you would expect it to be, and they feel very quotidian. As quotidian as murder gets, I suppose. Quotidian for the person in charge of murder.
Quotidian relative to the fact of them?
Yes. Good way to put it.
Okay.
As the tremor of fury dies off, there is another pause that is almost long enough for you to decide to do something else, but then there's another smaller tremor. Think little ripples in the glass of water in Jurassic Park at the beginning of that one sequence. But concentrated in the well, you can almost see the darkness sort of ripple, and then again, and then more, and it doesn't stop, and then all at once it sort of bubbles up out of the well and fills the space almost instantly. And you feel the presence of Mott, though they don't immediately say or do anything, but you have their attention.
I want myself back.
Whatever do you mean, child?
Look at me.
You are the same as ever, are you not?
Where are my shadows, my tendrils? I feel stretched thin.
Ah, not stretched thin. Simply drowned out. You have done very well, my child. I am pleased. You have triumphed again and again in my name. I will happily assist you. This is also, for the record, the first time any of you have heard Mott refer to themselves in the singular. What boon do you wish?
I wish to be myself. I wish to not be drowned out by whatever is affecting me now, or her.
That can be done. there's not necessarily an in-game pause, but I would like for, I guess first, Mavia, for you to give me another sense plus empathy, 2 plus a master die.
2 8s.
Okay. So Lissa is present enough to detect and follow this interaction. I'm going to rule that Lissa does not get to use her vocal cords here exactly. But in terms of like a, sort of piece of input to Mott in this situation, how is Lissa reacting here?
Resisting and wanting her body back, more or less.
Sure.
Mavia's success has been in part because of her knowledge, and large part because of her knowledge, too.
Throughout all of this, Rumnet has kept his hand on Mavia's shoulder, sort of hearkening back to the, like, I am here for you and will not leave you.
So, Robin. Mott is not an entity that super understands being human. So I'm also looking right at the property that we gave Mott at the beginning of the campaign, and cruel is one of them. Mortals are beneath their notice. Any that gain their notice do not fare well. It is unclear if this is Mott's intention, but, like casual kind of cruelty. So, given all of this, Mott is trying to reward Mavia here. And is not doing like a wishmaster kind of like, aha, you said it this way, I will twist your wish kind of thing. But I guess my question is, like, what is sort of each of Mavia and Lissa's like preferred outcome here, and maybe measured against their ability to express it? Because I think the way that everything has been put so far, the tendency for Mott would be to try and put Lissa 1 body, 1 shard, Mavia 1 body, 1 shard. Like, that would be the default here. And that's a pretty drastic change to a character to Fiat.
Yeah.
And maybe not my GM inclination, but certainly the position that Mott is in right now is like, that's the straight line.
Interesting. What would that mean for me as a player? Also, like, I have some hesitations with that, thematically speaking, based on...
As do I. Yeah, no, that's I, in role-playing Mott, I'm telling you that, like, that's kind of their idea of what your preferred solution would be, right? They are not a person. They do not understand being a person. And for them, if the problem is that Mavia doesn't like being crowded out by other shards, the solution is to just, tie Mavia and the shard together, pull the shard out.
Here's a thought, and this is slightly potentially spoilerific, but they're not two different souls.
Right. I, GM, know that. Mott doesn't really care, that's the case. Souls aren't really a thing that Mott is concerned about.
They would still be halved in that case. Like
right,
two bodies
exactly.
with
It would be like
some weird Horcrux shit going on.
It would be, existential violence.
Yeah.
So all of this is to say that I bring this up because I don't necessarily think that is what should happen, but I want to get an idea of what your what Mavia being sort of the agent and the one being rewarded here would be petitioning Mott for.
Like the betrayal dynamic, the hunt that we discussed previously, maybe?
Interesting. Yeah.
Because the other thing I think is definitely not what I...
Right. Which is, again, why I wanted to be like, hey, table talk here.
It would complicate things.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, no, that's again kind of why we're doing what we're doing here. So, okay. I think I have an idea here. To be clear, given her druthers, Mavia would hold on to, in sort of like order of priority, hold on to Fury, then Darkness, then the Forge. Is that correct?
Yeah. Lissa currently would be Forge, Fury. The rest she would do without. Sure.
That accords with what I was assuming would be the case. Good.
Okay.
Mott sort of has this brief and yet endless interval of words and wordless kind of communication with their Nobilis here, and then the darkness becomes so absolute that not even the Nobilis of Darkness or the Smoking Void Sight can penetrate it. It is not an external darkness at all. And
not so much darkness as absence.
Well, certainly not absence, because that's not in Mott's purview.
Presence,
I would,
then.
Yeah, I would say that in this case, the concept of darkness has been manifested further up the sensory chain than sensory organs. And there is very little for Ramnet to sort of feel or observe at first, other than maybe a tightening of the muscle in Mavia's shoulder. And Mavia, you feel probably how a tray of M&Ms being sorted into different colors feels. It is a truly singular and simultaneously extremely unpleasant and yet kind of satisfying feeling. Until, of course, something is wrenched out of you. Again, thinker by analogy here. So, you know how, like, it's good when a kidney stone goes from being inside a person to being outside a person, and yet that process is often extremely unpleasant?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of maps onto that.
Soul stones. Got it.
You've passed one.
I passed one. Through what orifice remains?
Best not to speculate.
Through the soul hole.
God damn it, Adam. Well done on your revenge.
Revenge is actually very satisfying. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. So this process probably doesn't actually take very long in absolute terms, but it feels kind of endless. And partway through it, Ramnet, you get to feel the reverse.
Ooh.
Yeah. You essentially feel a shard being stabbed into you. And
Shunted.
not just into you, but through your existing shard. So again,
murder and
shards,
sacrifice are now entwined.
yeah, distinct. But rather like, let's say two trees that have sort of grown around each other. When it is all said and done. Excuse me. And certainly it would be traumatic even by the standards of soul manipulation for any change in their relationship to take place at this point. So when all of this finally subsides,
You hear maybe an extremely brief gasp, intake of breath.
and possibly a tightening of the grip on your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
No, a tightening of everything except the grip on her shoulder.
I like that. But when this all sort of winds down, both of you feel a moment of relief and then just lose consciousness. It's, too much. You can't stay upright. Leorian. Evine has walked out of the square. It's been a minute. There have been a couple of tremors in the ground. Anything in particular that it particularly occurs to you to want to do? I just want to give you an opportunity here to have some agency while the other two are,
Lacking in
recovering.
agency?
Passing things between our soul holes.
Like you do. I think on Avine's departure, I'm reflecting on my bad recruiting skills and my excellent musical skills. Probably after a time, I poke my head at least a little bit into the manifestation and see if I can see any. I'd be looking for Timothy's. I have no idea. I'm looking for Rep Timothy's or Zenithys or anything of the kind.
So here's the thing. You have, and we've discussed this before, the gift perfect timing. So you crack open the door of the manifestation to peek in, and about 6 inches from your face is the face of the acolyte of great stature that we were talking about.
Acolyte of unusual
before.
size.
There you go.
Right.
Literally 6 inches from your face. Of course, they're much taller than you. Your face is close to theirs because they're sort of like, in this inhuman posture about to open the door. And they blink asynchronously, seemingly in surprise, but make no other particular response.
I was looking for little Timothy, but are you big Timothy? Pleased to meet you.
You flatter yourself that a look of recognition flits rapidly across the acolyte's face. And
I will ride this high for the next several hours.
They stand to their full height and look down at you and say, "How may we be of service, Lord Qatar?"
Oh, it's very polite. I'm pleased to see you. I mean, I could favor you with a song. I mean, I could be of service to you. Mainly, though, I was wondering. My companions have been in there a while, and I guess I wanted to make sure everything was, square.
The acolyte says, "They confer with the obsidian god," and leaves it at that.
Yeah. So is that, I'm not super familiar. Is that good, for it to take, some time?
Time does not concern the obsidian god.
I won't take that too personally. I suppose, that, yeah. I mean, so if you were you just down there, things seem to be going well. Would you characterize things as going well?
The acolyte cocks their head and gives another one of those blinks and says, "The prophet spared an incompetent accused of criminality of execution."
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, you're being hard on yourself, though. I mean, I'm sure you didn't mean to do it, whatever it was.
Wow, actually, you know what? This may call for something unprecedented. Charm plus graces.
Okay.
Roll
Oh no,
three
I
dice.
I don't think I'm strong on this. I was gonna say, yeah. You know what? I did the dice selection process earlier. I'm gonna use the 3 worst ones just for grins. Pair of 8s. Okay.
Oh.
The acolyte seems to refocus on you and says, "It was not us, but we suppose your concern is a mark in your favor." And then they sort of cock their head into the distance and says, "Please accompany us to the manor," and begins to lope lankily in the direction of the manor where you were kept last time.
I resist the urge. Yeah, I resist the urge to walk this way, as it were. But I do follow, and I say thanks. And I think you work too hard.
The acolyte says, "We do not work at all."
Oh, do what you love. And yeah, I know. I've heard that one. Not true in my experience, but get out there, keep doing it.
At the rate that the acolyte sets for your progress, it takes very little time to arrive at the manor. The acolyte pulls open the door and gives you a uncannily long arm gesture inside with something that approximates about, I guess, my sort of visual for this is Raya in Elden Ring. The weird canted posture that she stands with. But much taller.
Sorry for breaking you there, Drew.
No, you're good. You're good. We do have fun here. So I follow. I probably don't push my luck any further as far as conversation right at the moment, because I think I've already done great. And I can only make it worse at this point. It's perfect.
The acolyte does not follow you in, but before they close the door, they say, "The Lord and Lady should be returning shortly, though not by the door, and they may or may not be conversant," and then swings the door closed.
That was upsetting. Okay, thanks. Bye. I make myself at home and I wait.
So
I quicken my own perception of however long I'm waiting.
Sure. It is not clear to anybody but Leorian how much time passes, and then of course Leorian has distorted his own perception of the passage of time. But Ramnet, you awake in one of the guest bedrooms in the manor. And you won't know this, but you awaken at the exact moment that Lissa awakes in her room in the manor. Now, Ramnet, you feel noodly. You feel like you would imagine somebody would feel if they, exercised until they collapsed, but were, well triaged after that. It's sort of, everything is loose, but also hurts. Both physically and spiritually.
I didn't know I had a room in the manor.
You don't. You're in a guest room.
Okay.
I believe I said as much.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Lissa, when you awake, you feel at first you're trying to place the feeling, and then you're like, oh God, this is what it felt like to be mortal. Was I really this tired and blind the whole time. And then as you sort of like settle back in, you realize, no, you're not mortal, but you are deeply enervated, and you seem maybe a little bit diminished. You can't put your finger on it. Your memory of the last, who knows, really, is kind of hazy. There's bits and pieces, but the clearest thing when you cast your mind back is finding Thoralda's corpse. You know there was some stuff after that. You have trouble putting it in order or being really sure, of like all the details of a scene or a memory. But yeah, you're back in your room in the manor.
I'm going to go out into some of the common areas because stuff is up.
I go find the nearest Timothy and request coffee.
Well, this does lead both of you almost simultaneously into sort of the common area where Leorian is passing the time. And
I'm going to say, with perfect timing, right as I decided to get up and check, I essentially meet them at the doorway.
Yeah. With Lissa slightly ahead of Ramnet in arrival, but by mere seconds. Both looking, to Leorian's trained eye, deeply hungover.
Hey, what happened? How did I get here again? It's good to see you both.
So you're Alyssa now?
Yeah, I am.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to see you. No, meaning no offense to the other but it's a pleasure.
How long has it been this time?
That's a difficult question, even for me to answer. Time is weird. Let's see. Time's always weird here, and time's been weirder lately. I don't think too long. Not very. I mean, I don't have a benchmark, I suppose.
Slept.
How long?
Correct.
Okay. Oh, that's right. We sleep.
So not as bad as last time. Bear with me. I'm kind of feeling funny.
You acquired some additional domains.
Again?
And I think you might have given me one of them by way of our boss.
And now that you are focusing on it, even during the conversation, Ramnet, you do have sacrifice at 0 as a secondary domain. And
can I drop my one divine remaining XP into it immediately?
You may, yeah. You can raise that at this very instant of realization.
I'm a baron.
1. You are a baron of sacrifice. And Lissa, you have a very strange sensation when you go, sort of turn your attention, even sort of casually inward here, because you personally are only the Nobilis of the Forge. You can detect the shards of fury and darkness within you, but you cannot reach them.
Well, this is new. I have the forge, but I can't reach the others.
Maybe you requested of our boss that she not be overshadowed. She wanted to be herself.
Yeah, but that's not good.
The forge, though, I mean, that's That's your lane. That's
the nicest thing to happen to me ever since this. And I gesture vaguely towards everything.
Right.
Also, you missed out on meeting Beauty, Truth, and their Imperator.
No,
Imperatrix?
I definitely missed out on the Imperator, but I was there for Truth, and I was there, wasn't I?
Largely.
For the record, she was,
Yeah.
although
Okay.
the memories are jumbled. Yeah. Lissa is less sure of this than us players are.
Mm-hmm.
No, you were. I mean, but the Imperator, that was a little frightening. And I mean, and the Forge, and now my most smoky sir, you seem you've got yet another. There's more. The two of you seem to get more often. It's inspiring.
I'm sure if Dusk had the means, you would be blessed with a bounty for all your hard work, Leorian.
I will just point at Lissa saying that and continue looking for a Timothy who can get me coffee.
There are no acolytes in evidence within the manor.
Am I aware that he's looking for a coffee barista, Timothy? A Timothista?
Perhaps. It's reasonable that you could surmise.
Okay. They seem to be outside, and also
I will walk to the front door, open it, and just shout.
They're really
Timothy.
big now, so you might not recognize them. They're like real
really
big.
What happened to Timothy? Like, did they go to the gym? Is there a gym here?
There was one that climbed out of the well that was tall and reptilian, and
Oh.
Is that what going to the gym does to you, like around here? Because that
may very well be.
Fairly
I'm
unclear.
Not entirely sure.
I don't know that
Sure.
the concept of gyms really exists as such.
I could create one.
No one even lifts, bro.
I don't think Leorian has met Thad, so I can't contradict this statement.
Thankfully, Thad has been pushed out of the city. Unfortunately.
Damn!
Today in
The
Silver
others went
Linings.
with him.
So, in about the time between Romnet initially shouting out of the front door and this point in the conversation, the apparently sane acolyte of great stature comes sort of like crawling over the roof of the building across the street and down the front of it, and then stands up like bipedally in the street and approaches the steps of the manor in relatively dignified fashion and gives another one of those very odd looking bows and just intones, "Yes, Lord Prophet."
There are a couple of things that seem possibly to need addressing, especially if we are to proceed with looking for the false correspondent. Among them are the disposition of the light word, as well as some interdivinity diplomacy, but also how soon can I be gotten some coffee?
Well, that part will be most easily accomplished. And the acolyte walks past you into the manor and heads towards the kitchen.
Oh, okay. I suppose I should have checked there first.
As I see Timothy, I let out a small yelp and then quickly recover myself and say, "You're looking great. I like the changes."
The acolyte does not respond.
Has anyone conveyed to me the info about that we're looking for this nefarious forgerer?
Probably not.
No, we don't even know that the light ward or Lissa doesn't know that the light ward have been pushed out of the city. but probably...
If you're listening to my conversation with Rep. Timothy...
I haven't heard.
I heard something
Then there's
about
certainly
it, yeah.
something afoot, as it were.
Right. So I didn't mean to eavesdrop or anything. I'm glad you're getting your coffee. That's great. Coffee? Anyway, so...
Have you not had coffee? I say with a slightly manic glint in my eye.
It's great in moderation.
Moderation. Never been good at that. Coffee sounds great, though. Yeah, whatever he's having, some of that. I think I heard somebody one time told me that's the last thing I need. I don't know what that means. Anyway, so I heard something about letters. What's this about letters? Because if you need to know who's writing letters, I've recently discovered something about myself, which is if you know who's writing them and where, but not when, I think I can't help but get there when they're writing them.
And what's this about the Light Ward?
They've apparently been pushed out of the city upon Aveen's orders as a result of correspondence that someone is impersonating Neon and has been directing Aveen at her job for some months, which is why she hasn't liked me lately.
Oh, I can help. Aveen, not mayor anymore. Works at a bar now. Sounds cool.
Aveen is lovely even when she is not thrilled with me. It's true.
Completely lovely, yeah.
You are sort of standing near the entryway to the manor while this conversation is going on, and upon Ramnet saying Aveen's name, the door bangs open, and Ilona, the healer, who was fascinated with Apatia, is standing there breathing heavily and looking quite haggard. And she sort of gasps out, Aveen, come quick, and then darts off down the street.
Well, I sprint after her.
It is tough compared to every other bit of sprinting you've done since your commencement, but you do so. Would I be correct in assuming that the other two follow?
With a brief look over my shoulder, mournfully, at the coffee that is still in the kitchen.
Uh-huh.
I follow as well, and I don't spend miracle
coffee.
Points to... I don't actually quicken our pace because that would be costly, and who knows what's ahead, but I make us feel as though we're going quicker, at the very least.
Good deal. So you all take off running after Ilona, and Ramnet, you realize very quickly that they that Ilona is leading you toward your house. And sure enough,
well, at least I'll be able to get coffee.
Sure enough, Ilona doesn't even pause at your door, simply flings it open and runs sort of through the entryway and common areas back to sort of your office. And as everybody sort of piles in, the sight that awaits you here is Aveen, sort of slumped somewhat back over your desk chair. She has her left hand up, palm out, fingers kind of splayed in front of her left eye, and a quill pen that, Ramnet, you will recognize as either being identical to the one that you typically use when you are writing at your desk, stuck through her hand, through the middle of her palm, and presumably into the eye behind it. She is bleeding heavily, but is not dead. Okay. You can see where Ilona has tried to sort of triage a little bit, but has not moved the hand and the foreign object, because this is a little bit beyond the sort of thing that Tyraxan medicine has specific remedies for. And because she wanted to have the Nobilis
I will pray to to the Obsidian God for assistance in destroying a murder that might frustrate attempts to figure out who is fucking with his chancel.
So, upon doing this, because
I'm still fucking tapped out of miracle points.
What did you use the gift on again? From
the ability to...
Oh yeah, the gift.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
So, a lesser destruction is a level 5, and as you are sort of, reaching in to attempt this, praying to the Obsidian God for their help, you find to your surprise you hadn't really noticed it because you were feeling so crummy when you woke up. You are actually refilled on miracle points. You are 5s across the board in miracle points.
Well, that's lovely.
After your experience in the heart of the chancel.
Do I have mine back too?
No, you were only going to be getting 1 back anyway in domain. And, you had something taken from you, however willingly, not given to you. So you do not. Sorry.
Should have gone for the spirit option twice.
In that case, I will destroy the wound that could become a murder.
All right. So you target the wound in Evine's hand and eye with a destruction of murder, and the wound itself remains, but its capacity to become lethal is removed.
Cool.
That
is not nothing, at least.
Immediately, Ilona detects a change in Evine's sort of demeanor, breathing, posture. She still doesn't look great. Still bleeding, still clammy, still kind of shallow breath, still kind of limp.
Still has a quill through her eyeball.
Still has a quill, at least into her eyeball.
Fair.
And not good, but definitely not as dangerous as it just was.
I take her free hand.
Okay. You do so. It's sort of like both hot and clammy at the same time. Rumnet and Leorian, I would like sense plus sight. So for Romnet, that's 5 dice, and for Leorian, that's going to be 4.
Pair of 5s.
5s.
Yeah. 3 3s.
Okay, so Leorian, you will notice this first. There is actually, it's hard to see when you first come in, but you sort of try to edge out of the way of everything else going on, and you get an angle before Romnet spots it. There is a slightly ajar drawer of this desk that has an identical quill pen to the one in Evine's hand and eye, sort of visible in the open drawer. Romnet, I'm going to rule that you sort of see Leorian's eyes wander from Evine to this drawer, and you sort of crane and look. You only have 1 quill pen that looks like that.
I probably only have 1 quill pen. I am opposed to paperwork. That is actually out loud.
Oh, okay. I do not say curiouser and curiouser, except with my eyes.
Oh, Drew.
You're stuck with me.
Tragedies all around. Thought nobody involved in this.
So, there's only 1 of those, but there's 2 of those. So does that mean if there's only 1 of you, there's actually maybe 2 of you?
I really hope not. But that is the obvious, unfortunate conclusion.
I was just saying what we were all thinking, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ilona, have you seen others of me? Have you gotten notes from me?
I don't think so, no.
Good.
Is there a way to just put out a general message that any correspondence from you should be ignored so that this doesn't happen again? I give Avine's hand a squeeze.
She still seems pretty out of it, but I guess an announcement is maybe in order. Ilona sort of has come close to Avine and has been checking her over and says, well, she seems to be out of danger for now, but I'll have to remove the quill. Keep hold of her hands, and if I could have one of you other two to hold on to the one I'm going to be interacting with so that she doesn't damage her eye more.
I will nominate Lissa for that, and also suggest that as we do, we perhaps jointly request of our boss that her sight be accommodated.
So you do that while Ilona sort of very carefully sort of puts a gentle hand on Avine's hand right next to where the quill is stuck through, and takes a careful grip on the quill and draws it slowly directly back.
However steady she means to be, she is unnaturally steady because of a ghost miracle on my part.
Certainly. She lets out a kind of breath as it comes free, and immediately sets the quill down behind her on the desk, and starts going to work, essentially patching the holes in Avine. She murmurs as she works that it doesn't look like the quill went all the way through the eyeball, which is at least good for her brain. Leorian, you might also be the first to notice that the quill moves slightly after she puts it down.
Did anybody else just see that? The quill? It seemed to be do they so again, newish around here. Did they move under their own power normally?
I would grab that if I were you, Leorian.
Yeah, I do that.
You go to grab the quill, and it, right before you touch it, sort of slides out from under where your hand is going to a partially filled out sheet of paper, maybe not even something that Romnet wrote, but something that was on the desk, and begins to write in Avine's blood in what appears to be gibberish. Nothing that anybody here has seen before.
Aspect Ghost Miracle to snatch it?
Ooh, yeah.
Maybe going to take a little bit more than a Ghost Miracle for that.
Is there an Arctoritas on this thing?
No, there is not.
Cool.
I think I perform a lesser creation of tempo, and however fast it is, I'm faster.
Okay.
Nice.
You have the weird experience of everything else remaining at a normal speed, but you speeding up relative to this quill pin, and you snatch it, and it goes perfectly still in your grasp. Normal quill pin, as far as you can tell. It got maybe 3 inches of writing done on the page, and it sort of looks like cursive cuneiform is the best I can describe it as.
With the sight, does it basically still appear to be a normal quill pen?
It has a tutelary spirit. Having not looked at the tutelary spirits of quill pens before, you aren't sure, but you would put a little bit of money on this one maybe being weird. It certainly seems like a lot of spirit for something as simple as a quill pen.
Yeah, I convey this information that it's got some extra zazz and zip to it. That may be the way I put it, in fact.
Can I do a lesser divination of realm and see if it has an owner within Fermata?
Interesting.
I'm asking if it has an owner, not who the owner is. Just
it owns itself.
I relay that information to everyone.
I hold the quill in front of me as though I'm certain it can hear me, and I say, "What is your deal?"
I think we found a bane.
It, after a moment, quivers slightly in your grasp in the direction of the piece of paper.
I do not let go of it, but I walk it over to the piece of paper, and I don't let go of the grip, but I let it move enough to write whatever it's writing.
It scribbles an angular, quick "fuck you."
That does seem to be its deal, so it's not a liar.
No, it's definitely a liar. It's been impersonating me.
Sure, right. Fair point. It's not a creative liar. Right now.
It may or may not be lying presently. It may or may not be equipped to follow through on its statement.
It
Sure.
is
Yeah,
in
fair.
your grip, Leorian, is quivering, and you somehow can tell that it is quivering with rage.
Ah. Do you tell us of this?
Yeah,
I
I do, and I say it a little sheepishly. I'm at least dimly aware of the implication. Yeah.
I try to reach for Fury again.
All right. In that case, I would like a roll from you. I would like for you to
Play with
roll.
this.
I would like you to roll Sense plus Eerie, which is 1 die for you.
I got a 5.
As you reach for Fury, Mavia comes to the fore.
Oh. I look around and immediately drop Avine's hand. I imagine the quill is removed, so I don't have to restrain her anymore.
Correct, yes.
Am I back in all my glory?
You are as you were before you disappeared, but you do have more control over your shadows, over your darkness.
I pull them back around me, and back over my eyes to an extent and stalk towards poor Leorian.
Mm-hmm. You can feel...
Hello again, Furious Queen, looking very tentacular today.
Welcome back, Mavia. Please don't disturb his grip on that pen.
You can feel the pen in question is... It is like Leorian is holding an ingot of metal hot from the forge. That thought makes you recoil a little bit. But instead of heat, it is giving off fury.
Mm-hmm. Delicious. I'm going to do greater divinations.
Mm-hmm.
The first I want to know is how this quill... What is the nature of the fury that this quill has? And if I stop this fury, will it stop its correspondence? Or will such correspondence continue?
As is often the case with Mavia divinations, the answer does not come in words, but rather in sensations and flickering images. This quill is a person or what's left of one. And they are radiating fury at the injustice of their own murder. They wish to revenge themselves.
I want to compare the fury that I feel from this pin to the fury that I know is Romnet's.
Entirely different timbres. This pen is what happens when all that is left of a person is their rage at the wrong done to them.
I look to Romnet and say, this is what remains. But the fury is different from yours.
I would expect so. I don't really...
If you were to...
Can I ask if the fury of the pin, like, what name it had previously given itself? To whom did this fury belong?
The answer to that question is a ragged wound where their identity once was.
Is this one of the 100 murders?
I presume.
Well, if you
this is a question to my estate.
Yeah, if you use a lesser divination for that, yes, this is one of the 100 murders. In fact, now you are also aware that it is one of the 100 sacrifices.
Yeah.
I will apologize to it.
Now, you don't perceive this, but maybe you do. If this quill pin could spit on Romnet in response, it would.
Let me see what I can do. Let me see what I can do. I am at, would this be, depending on what is, it's a small item with deep wells of fury. So would that be a lesser destruction?
Well, it depends on what you want to destroy. What are you hoping to destroy?
Does.
So, Adam.
Yes.
I would like to complete the sacrifice. I would like to complete the murder.
Okay.
And in so doing, enforce the status.
Can we tandem it?
You want to take all the fury that remains? By all means.
So, through a quick conference, Romnet and Mavia, you decide that you can both have a role in this. So, if one domain miracle point from each of you,
cool.
You can affect this. It takes, weirdly, miracles are usually just like you are basically dictating to reality how it is now. This actually takes, like, not a long time, but an amount of time. In this case, it actually does take a little bit of coordination, push and pull, and sort of pressure and change. It's not very long, but it's like a good 5 seconds while you kind of, interact with this. And then all at once, Romnet, you feel sort of like you've been standing on the second to bottom step, and you sort of take 2 strides and get to the floor really quickly. And then for Mavia, you kind of feel like you've just really struggled to get a snack out of the package and then wolfed it down. It's not especially substantial. It doesn't like charge you up mechanically, but it just does sort of give you like a jolt. And all at once, Leorian, in your hand, the quill pin goes still. You can sense even before you use the sight that it is no longer what it was. You briefly look at it using the sight. There is no tutelary spirit in it whatsoever. And as you watch, it simply crumbles to an almost ethereal dust and floats out of your hand.
I round on Avine and tilt my head at her to see if she is in any way more conscious now that the thing that stabbed her in the eyeball is gone.
She's actually less conscious now that she has essentially stabilized. Ilona has been working on her, more or less ignoring what you all are doing, and bandaged her up some, which makes it rather easier to look at her. And she seems to be kind of not fully unconscious, not fully asleep, but kind of more or less insensate, maybe in shock, just kind of slumped in the chair.
I look at, to me, what is the strange woman that I've never seen before. And I snarl. When she wakes, the other wanted her to go to Calvin to look for Varric. And the word is very clearly foreign in my mouth.
Mm-hmm. Ilona sort of bobs and nods and says, of course, milady. I'll let her know. Thank you. All. For your help.
Thank you for alerting us to... You allowed us to solve a pernicious problem.
Happy to be of service, my lord. I don't wish to be presumptuous, but now that the emergency has passed, have any of you word of Lady Apatia?
No.
I fear not.
She wants to know about that, too.
Oh, well, I'd be much obliged if I could be kept up to date. But I understand if not. And she bows twice really fast.
Absently, absolutely, of course. As I go into the kitchen and get my coffee.
I'm maybe oh geez. I kind of growl, you'll be involved, though I suspect not as much as my other was involved with her.
Oh, of course not, your ladyship. Whatever you can spare, I'd appreciate. If I could get someone's help transporting the mayor to my clinic so that I can help her convalesce, please.
I pick her up in my tentacles.
Mm-hmm. She doesn't particularly react, although she does kind of moan a little bit. And Ilona leads the way out of Romnet's house and toward the clinic, which is not that far away. Romnet, you do get your coffee. Leorian, what is your sort of action in all this?
I check my hand thoroughly for quill dust. Is there anything left that I can see?
No, it seems as though once it was dust, it simply ceased to exist. For a reason I can't necessarily name, I'm intensely uncomfortable with the glee with which Mavia did that, and I've seen her eat a heart, so I follow Romnet for the coffee.
Okay. I make him some too.
You also get some coffee. Now, Romnet, you probably also, once you have a couple sips of coffee, are reflecting on the fact that Asha's name has been cleared now.
Mm-hmm.
Last you saw Asha, he was being essentially held awaiting trial by the Acolytes, although you know not precisely where. It was probably somewhere in or around the manifestation.
Yeah, no, I'm going back to the manifestation, and I will snag a Timothy by the collar and just, with me, please.
There are none around.
Then I will just go down into the well and inform the Obsidian God that one of a murder related to the enchancement had not been completed and had been working against the betterment of the chancel, and that has all been rectified. Additionally, Asha, to the degree that Maud is aware of this, is entirely exonerated by this.
And Leorian, while Romnet has finished his coffee and gone to do this, you presumably are not going into the manifestation, and Mavia is carrying Evine, and then probably, I imagine, not hanging around there. What are you getting up to, Leorian?
I'm I walk back into the other room and say, "So you're a healer." And I've heard a lot about this Apatia person. I haven't actually.
Ilona is not in Romnet's house. She was leaving.
Ilona
Mavia
is gone.
You would have to follow.
Oh, that's
Mavia.
right. Mm-hmm. I will follow Mavia and try to chat up Ilona as I do. Say, so you're a healer. That seems really great and useful. This I haven't met this Apatia person, but seems very cool, very popular. You are very good at what you do. That thing with the eye, that was great. That was well done. Have you ever tried this coffee stuff? It's pretty good.
Ilona says, basically as you are approaching the clinic, Lady Apatia is quite remarkable, and her blood is, well, I have no need of coffee anymore, provided that the Lady Apatia blesses me with her presence again.
Oh man, she's going to go through withdrawals.
Gestures both of you inside, and for Mavia to put Evine on one of the cots, freed of your burden. Mavia, I presume that you head out, but to where?
I probably ping on Romnet wherever he is and head there myself.
All right, so you start moving toward the manifestation. Leorian, do you go with her, or do you try to stay with Ilona and Evine?
Having a good sense of where they're headed, I know my way around at this point. I do stay with Ilona and Evine just a while longer, and after a respectable period of silence, I say, so, Ilona, right, how is your job satisfaction?
Am I correct in assuming here that your ultimate goal might be to poach Ilona for boar?
I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes, but I am saying yes.
Charm plus graces, please. 3 dice.
Please successfully steal her and Evine, realistically.
2 3s.
All right. No definitive decision is reached, but you think you have her interest, and then she eventually sort of says, I have other patients that I need to see. And
yeah, of
you get
course.
The feeling that it's not so much because of anything you've said, so much as your hyperactive demeanor and endless attention for this conversation.
I look at my reflection in the coffee, and I do indeed reflect.
Does it blur at the edges from buzzing?
Vibrates, yes, absolutely. So, tessellates.
Romnet, you head into the heart of the chancel. You give sort of your spiel. You feel a slight vibration, but no verbal communication. And upon exiting the heart of the chancel, you see that Asha seems to be sleeping peacefully on the altar in the manifestation right around the time that Mavia enters through the front doors, seemingly making a beeline.
Also, just like attitudinally, I am wandering around carrying my coffee exactly like a senior partner at a law firm, like going point to point to point to point while drinking coffee and daring anyone to talk to them or get in their way.
Sure. And nobody does, for the duration of your sort of sojourn up until Mavia's entrance into the manifestation. So Asha on the altar, seeming to be soundly asleep. Romnet, coffee mug, sort of prickly demeanor. Mavia enters the manifestation.
I go to wake Asha up.
Mm-hmm. He comes to groggily and sees you. and basically says, am I still in trouble?
No.
Oh.
We have discovered that there was a soul left over from a murder that bore everyone, including particularly those in their employ, great spite, and took the form of a quill that wrote correspondence as if from me. This has been dealt with.
Asha looks like he wants to say something, but instead just throws his arms around your neck and gives you a tight hug, and then sort of seems to kind of like straighten up and be like, thanks. I'm really sorry.
You were operating in good faith on bad information.
You think you could, I hate to oppose, but just walk me home?
Certainly. I will give maybe a like questioning look as we sort of pass.
I don't respond. I just kind of skulk behind them and follow. But I specifically walk on my tendrils.
Mm-hmm. Feels nice to do.
Mm-hmm.
Once Alona told me she had other patients to see, I wandered out of the clinic. As I blurted earlier, I've come to expect that I have perfect timing, so I wandered with no particular direction, assuming I'd be where I need to be when I need to be there.
Interestingly, in short order, you find yourself, you're actually not walking through the same environment you were earlier. I don't know how keyed in Leorian will have been by this point to the nature of Fermata, but where your journey through the city earlier from the gates to the manifestation, to the manor, to Ilona's clinic, or to Romnet's, and then to Ilona's clinic, actually, backpedal that, your journey up to the point where you left Romnet's house following Ilona had all been very serene, very kind of subdued. After having left Romnet's house, you didn't really notice it so much on the way to Ilona's clinic, but now, having left Ilona's clinic, you notice that it's just like a party. There's like a street fair without the fair. Kind of going on as you're walking along. Everything is oddly riotous. And you've sort of let yourself be buffeted a little bit, and you're a little surprised that you don't run into your companions. Instead, you find yourself standing on the steps of a nicely appointed house in a relatively vacant, although not deserted, part of a street in this riotous version of Fermata. And the door, as you stand there, sort of silently swings inward just a little bit, as though in invitation. And that's where we'll end our session.
Read the book.
So, everyone can have 1 mortal XP for this time. And we'll pick up right there, with escorting Asha home and arriving on the steps of this house next time. But with that, we can conclude this session of Dice Punks. So thank you to players and listeners alike for joining us. I had a lot of fun, and I hope that we'll see everybody next time. If you're hearing us now, then you probably know where to listen to this, but we can be found almost any place one can listen to podcasts, and we can be found on the wider web at dicepunks.com or on Twitter as @dicepunks. With that, I think we're ready to say farewell. So players, please say farewell to the kind folks at home.
Thanks for listening. Coffee is a great thing, and this door seems very inviting and legit.
We appreciate you. Make peace with your inner demon / inner child ?
Thanks for listening, folks. And remember, murders are best when they're actually finished. This is not legal advice.
And, as the poet once said, Whatever we've been through, we will come out on the other side. No one will ever take us dead or in the night. We aren't afraid. We aren't afraid. We're fucking terrified. Thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in, and stick around through the admin stuff for Alyssa's line. The songs in this episode, Theme of the Dice Punks in its acoustic version, were written and recorded by the Viscount of Tempo in his element, Drew. Cover art is by Joanne, who has appeared on the podcast now and again. Check out her work around the internet where she goes by Anything Sows. Site design and graphics for DicePunks.com are by Robin, the player behind Mavia, the Nobilis of Darkness, Fury, and Sacrifice. Rain and the one-roll engine it runs on were created by Greg Stolze, whose work can be found in a frankly astonishing number of cool places, but I'll point you toward gregstolze.com. Nobilis was created by Jenna Caterin Moran, who can be found alongside much of her other really intriguing work, both in and outside of tabletop role-playing, at afarandsunlessland.wordpress.com. Links to both systems and authors can be found in the Punk Grimoire section of our website, dicepunks.com. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, well, that's reward enough on its own, really, but if you're so inclined, you can help us out by rating and reviewing us wherever you listen to us, telling your friends who you think would like us to give us a listen, and even by heading over to our Patreon at patreon.com/dicepunks. We have fun rewards available to backers, including a patron-only Discord, and access to the Dice Peaks After Show for episodes 1 and following. Regardless, we hope you'll tune in again, and until then, remember, subtlety is for cowards.
Alyssa here, talking to you from wherever I currently am. I want to share with you something that Varric taught me. It's been a bit of a stressful time for me, and this practice helps me ground myself whenever something reminded me too much of the past, and I got too caught up in it. But really, it's useful for all sorts of things. So if it's safe for you to do so, close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths. Now we're going to turn our attention to how you're feeling. Bring your attention first to the top of your head, your scalp, your face. Note if you're holding any tension in your jaw. Do your best to breathe into the feeling and let your muscles relax. Allow your tongue to fall from the roof of your mouth. Go down to your neck and shoulders, and with every breath, imagine that you're inhaling feelings of comfort and calm, exhaling tension. Focus on your shoulders, your arms, all the way down to your fingertips. And then consider your back, your seat, feeling the weight of your body pressing into the strength of the earth. Feel that strength emanating feelings of calmness and comfort out through the soles of your feet. I am going quickly here, with the trust that you'll be able to do these body scans on your own. The key is to observe your feelings with curiosity, not judgment. Take a few more deep breaths, then open your eyes if you're ready. You're not your feelings, dear listener. You're not your thoughts. And if your body is still not relaxed, well, I know of quite a few collaborative ways of blowing off steam.